Welcome everyone to Doga Yoga. Today we're doing a beautiful warrior flow. So we'll be focusing on our warrior one postures today to really make sure we understand how to move confidently from one pose to the next. So for this class today, I recommend you have a couple of books or blocks handy just to help bring the ground a little closer. Props are definitely our friend. So we're going to come into seated to start off today's class. And if seated cross-legged is a little tough for you in the knees or the hips, grab a block and pop it underneath your hips. Elevate them above your knees a little bit. You can also lengthen one leg if that helps you gain length in the spine so your lower back isn't rounding out. You can place your hand on your lower back to feel that as well. So we'll find our comfy space, take a little bit of time to do so. Place one hand on one knee, one hand on the other. Really send our shoulder blades down the back. Close down the eyes and just start to arrive. Welcome to your practice today. I'm so excited to see you on the mat with me. Congratulations for carving out this time for your body, your breath, and your mind. Inhale, fill the belly, the ribs, the collarbones on your inhale. And exhale, take a really big sigh. Let anything that you're holding on today go. I'm going to do two more like that. Inhale. Bring in some beautiful new oxygen to the body. And exhale, sigh out through the mouth. Just really let anything that's kind of holding us back go. One more. Inhale. And exhale. When we're ready, we're going to come up into seated. Take a big arm circle up overhead, fingertips touch. And then I'm going to mirror you. I'm going to place my left hand on the ground and just simply lean my right arm over towards the left. My gaze goes towards my armpit, so down, up instead of down. And we're just creating this beautiful side body stretch with our breath. Now ground down this right hip. Really feel that beautiful stretch from that hip to the ribs to the shoulder and beyond. Might lean back a little bit more. You might just be still. Alrighty, we're gently just going to switch to the other side. So come on up to seated. Place the right hand down, and you might just be on the fingertips here, gently leaning like this, or the palm connected to the earth. Or if you have a little bit more flexibility, you might be able to slide that hand forward, come onto the forearm to achieve that deeper stretch. Now remember, there's no one pose is better than the other. So we're just going to a place where we can feel the sensation today. Now remember, what your pose looks like will be different to what my pose looks like, will be different to the other person's pose look like, because our bodies are all different. And that is something we celebrate. There is no yoga robots. We're not kind of mold copies of one another. So we're just going to where we feel the sensation, enjoying the pose that we are in and breathing. And already we're gently going to rise on up back to center. Place your pinkies or your fingers beside your hips. Really press into the pinkies. Rise tall here. Oh, it feels really nice. We're just going to take a super gentle spinal twist to wake up our spine a little today. So place our left hand on our right knee, our right hand behind us, find length. And then revolve on our exhale. Gaze goes towards the side of the room, or if your neck allows, you might be able to revolve it over that back shoulder. So with our inhale, we're finding that length, lots and lots of space, and revolving. Lots and lots of space and revolving. A few more breaths here, just noticing the sensations in the upper back, the shoulders, the neck. Where can you feel it today? Where does this come up for you? Already we're going to come back to center and switch. So right hand on the left knee, left hand behind us, find length. Really imagine there's a string attached to our head, lifting us high on our inhale. And then we're revolving on that exhale, really allowing for this beautiful range of motion in our spine. We twist a lot less than we should in day-to-day life. So this is reminding our body that we actually move in this way. And that we're allowing the joints to gain their full range of motion. So, when we're ready, we'll come back to center. Oh, so good. We're just going to make our way over into tabletop. So rock on over, onto all fours. We're just going to take a quick little cat-cow, drop the belly, open up the chest, hold here for a little bit, and then push away into our cat. So really send our gaze towards our navel, our chin towards our chest, and our neck is long. I'm going to go one more, drop the belly, open up the chest, and exhale. Come back to neutral. We're going to tuck our toes under and come up into our downward facing dog. So really take your time here. Spread your fingers, spread your toes. Squeeze the biceps in towards our ears. So our shoulder blades mount down the back. Our neck is long, our arms are long. And our knees can be as bent as they need. It is not about straight legs. It's about having a nice straight spine. You can start to walk the dog if that feels good for your body, dropping one heel and bending the opposite knee, keeping the shoulders nice and even. And when we're ready, we're going to come to stillness. We're going to get our right foot in between our hand. Now you can come down to that left knee and kind of step it through gently, or you can pick it up, bring that knee towards our nose and get that foot through. Now our back foot comes down, heel to heel alignment. That back foot is 45 degrees, so just kind of pointing out to the left side. Bend that right knee and we're going to rise on up with strength and control into our warrior one legs. Now our hips are square to the short edge of the mat. So really reach high with the fingers here, open up the chest and exhale, sink the hips a little deeper. You might even widen your stance a little bit. And draw that front hip back, that left hip forward. Reach high with the fingers and exhale, sink the hips a little deeper. Breathing here, just really finding your balance. Activating that back kneecap, really pushing into the outside edge of that back foot. When you're ready, our hands are gently going to go wide. Let's clasp them at the lower back. You might have the elbows super bent here. This might be quite a lot for your shoulders. Or if you can go on, start to straighten the arms and the knuckles towards the earth. If you want to go on, send the palms to touch as well. So you might stay here. This might be enough for you. If you'd like to come into humble warrior, really ground down through the legs, make sure the hips are nice and even. Find a length in the spine. Imagine that string is pulling up through the crown of the head. And then fold forward. So nice straight spine. We're hinging at the hips here. Our right shoulder touches our right knee. Our knuckles reach the sky and our gaze goes towards those back toes. To breathe here, really make sure the legs are nice and active so we're not just kind of hanging out in that front knee, putting all the weight in that to that front hip. Send the knuckles to the sky or over to the room in front of you. And when we're ready, we're going to bring the hands back to the lower back. Gently release them. Frame this front foot. So plant the hands down and we're going to come back into our downward facing dog. Now you have the option here to come to child's pose as much as you need. I'm just going to hold here for 5 breaths. Really take time to be aware of your posture. Often we just kind of come in and out of our downward facing dog, but we don't just kind of get time to be here. So notice the weight in each of your shoulders. Notice to see if your ears are lining up with your elbow creases, and it's okay if it's not, but it's a process. That's what we aimed for, to open up the chest towards the thighs, the ears in line with the arms. So we can send the heels a little bit deeper to the ground, squeezing the kneecaps. And when we're ready, we're going to get our left knee towards our nose, really round out here, squeeze.
With that foot in between our hands, step it through lightly. Plant that back heel down, heel to heel alignment, back foot 45 degrees. Really make sure the legs are nice and strong here before we rise on up into our warrior one on the other side. So square the hips off to the front of the room. Breathe here, grow tall in the fingers and sink the hips down a little more. Tall in the fingers. Sink the hips down a little more. Just gaze down. Make sure you can see your big toes, your knees tracking out rather than inwards. Lengthen, sink. Lengthen, sink. Lengthen, sink. Send the hands wide. Clasp them at the lower back. Knuckles to the ground or the elbows bent. Connect to the palms if you want to kind of up the spice a little. You can stay here or fold forward into our humble warrior. Gaze goes to the back of the room towards those back toes. That back foot is still really active. Imagine we're still holding down something really important with that outside edge of the foot, squeezing that back kneecap. Lengthen a little bit more on your inhale. Point the crown of the head towards the front of the room and then fold a little deeper. Send the knuckles towards the lower back. Release. Frame that front foot and come back into your downward facing dog. Child's pose here is absolutely fine. So find your resting posture and just be aware of what's going on in the body here. Play. You might take the knees a little wider or a little closer in downward facing dog, in child's pose. And when we're ready, we're gently going to step the right foot through in between our hands once more. So pick that right foot up, bring the knee to nose, really round out here, get the foot in between our hands. Our left heel comes back, and this is where we have our blocks handy. So just scoot them towards you. We're going to rise on up into our warrior one legs. Keep our hands onto our hips to really help square them off towards the front of the mat. Now I want us to really focus on tucking the tailbone here. So place our left hand on our lower back, our right hand on our kind of belly here, lower belly, and we just want to really try and send the tailbone down, really activating that back leg, bending that front knee so we're not kind of bending the tailbone outwards. Beautiful. You'll feel a much deeper stretch on this left hip flexor. And when we're ready, we're going to start to straighten this front leg, squeezing this kneecap. Now this might be enough for you, keeping the legs parallel, the tailbone tucked here. It's quite active in the legs. If you'd like to go on, we're just going to start to lean, hinging from the hips, pointing the crown of the head towards the front of the room. Gaze goes past our front big toes into our pyramid pose. So you might stay here, you might have the hands on the hips, or you might send them down onto blocks. These are where the blocks come in handy. So you can have the blocks to bring the ground closer to you. We're finding length in the spine here. Gaze goes forward and then hinging. Still drawing those hips parallel, so that front hip back, that back hip forward. You might have a slight bend in that knee, front knee, if you kind of hyperextend. You can continue to come down as much as you need. So you can kind of play around with the different levels of the blocks. You might sink deeper and deeper. And then you might not need the blocks eventually. You might just be able to come onto the fingertips. If you're a little deeper, try and tilt your chin towards your knee instead of your nose. Finding extra length in the spine. Beautiful. And when we're ready, we're going to bend that front knee, really activate the legs, activate the core, rise on back up to our warrior one. Really nice, guys. And we're going to open up towards the left. So turn our toes towards the left, heels out, or heels in, sorry, toes out, and sink into our goddess squats. So just balance here, play. And we're just going to flow. So inhale, find length, squeeze the kneecap, grow tall, and exhale, sink. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale, shoot those knees out. Inhale, and sink, really nice. We're going to turn back, so pivot our feet back towards the front of the mat. We're going to frame this front foot and step ourselves, just move my blocks out of the way so you can see me, back into our downward facing dog. So you can come into child's pose here if you'd like. Find your version and just be mindful of the movement. Notice if there's any niggles, any differences side to side that we don't often get to mindfully consider when we're moving more quickly in our vinyasa. When we're ready, we're going to pick up that left foot, knee to nose, squeeze, get that foot in between our hand, back foot 45 degrees and rise on up. Hence come to our hips and just really focus on that squaring off. You can place the hand back and forward on the lower back, tilt that tailbone down, really activate this back leg, push this back heel away, activate this kneecap straighten. Hello, puppy. And when we're ready, we're going to start to straighten this front leg, really activate this kneecap, and we might just stay here. Or we can start to tilt forward, drawing this front hip back, kind of drawing this thigh bone into its socket. So we can be here, we can have the hands on the hips, or we can reach down for our blocks. So we can be on the top block, finding length here, gaze past that big toe. We can be on the mid-level or the lowest level. Find what works for you. There is no right or wrong. You might have 3 sets of blocks stacked up here to bring the ground closer to you, and that's perfect. Tilt your chin towards your knee or even towards your toes to find a bit of a deeper stretch, drawing that hip back. And when we're ready, bend that front knee, rise on up, and then we're going to open up to the side of the room. Heels in, toes out. I got it right that time. Bend in here, and we're just going to flow. Length here, squeeze the knee, grow tall, and sink knees out. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, and exhale. Inhale, sink and hold here. And just pulse if you want for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Come on up. We're going to turn it back to the front of the mat. Frame the front foot and come back into downward facing dog. 2 more breaths here for our last downward facing dog. Come down onto the knees. So we're going to cross the ankles and roll over onto our back and come into boat. I'm just going to shimmy back into the middle of the mat here. So zip tie our legs together. Imagine we're zipping them up so they're really squeezing together. Toes are flexed. We're going to grab the thighs. This is option 1 to stay here and just start to find that agni, that fire kind of happening in the core. So shoulders are nice and back down the back, collarbones are wide. If you want to go on, start to balance on your sacrum and send the shins parallel to the mat. So you can stay here. You can send the arms wide, or you can start to straighten the legs a little as well. So play. Hold here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Gently drop the toes down. Give yourself a little hug. And when we're ready, we're going to just gently roll onto our backs. Just move the blocks out of the way. Roll on down, heels towards our hips, hip distance apart, so our feet are just as wide as our hips. We're just going to pick up our right foot and place it over our left knee. Nice and easy, coming in to a half pigeon. So you can just guide this right knee out, give itself a little bit of a massage, saying thanks body for all the work you've done today. If you'd like to go on, bring that left knee in towards your chest, wrap your hands around the back of the thigh. So the shoulders stay blue tack to the earth, feet are flexed, and we're breathing into this hip space. So inhale, fill it up with beautiful energy, air, light, space, and exhale, release. Feels really nice on my hip, it's quite tight. After a big hike yesterday with the dogs. When ready, place that foot down and swap. Pick the left foot up, place it on the right knee, give yourself a little massage. You might even just stay here. This is such a beautiful opening in the hip. And if you'd like to go on, bring that right knee in and breathe.
When you're ready, gently release. I'm going to place both feet on the ground, hands come beside the hips, and then hips go straight up, so push into the big toes. Hips go to the sky, chin comes to chest. Beautiful bridge pose. So we're going to hold here. Imagine we're kind of holding an orange in between the knees. We don't want to let it drop. We're rising the hips, getting them as high to the sky as we can. If you'd like to go on, you can wriggle your shoulder blades underneath and clasp the hands at the lower back. So breathing here, flowing with your breaths, rising higher on each inhale, and don't drop the orange. When you're ready, gently release, roll down. Bring the knees into your chest, give yourself a hug, and rock. We're gently going to make our way into Savasana, one leg and then the other. Palms turned up. Just close down the eyes and find a little bit of stillness. Find softness in the body, softness in the breath. So we melt all our cares and tension away. When you're ready, send your arms up overhead. Wriggle the fingers and toes, roll the wrists and ankles, and come on over onto a side that suits you, using your arm as a pillow. I'm going to rise on up in our own time into seated. Find a comfy space. And all together take one big arm circle up overhead, fingertips touch, and back to heart center. Sending you lots of love and gratitude, beautiful yogis. Thank you so much for stepping on the mat with me today. Namaste.